Hello everyone, welcome to part 4 of the Polish Basics, which is my 5-part series trying to teach you guys how to speak Polish. Now, because you're on part 4, I hopefully think that you guys have watched part 1, part 2, and part 3. And because you watched parts 2 and 3, you've technically gone through the longest videos and through the hardest videos. So, you got through the bulk of it, congratulations. Now to skip all the formalities, and because I don't want this intro to be too long, we're going to go straight into what we're going to be learning today, which is verbs and adverbs and how to use them in a sentence. Now that we have gone through everything else and we've got through the intro, let's now get into verbs and adverbs and how you would use them in Polish. First, starting with verbs. Now, verbs have, similarly to other European languages, they have what is known as verb conjugation patterns, and it's basically a specific suffix that helps to indicate what conjugations are going to be used with that specific verb. In Polish, you have these three: ać, ich, and ech. And they are conjugation patterns because the verbs will be conjugated differently depending on which ending the definitive uses. Ać and ech might be similar or could be different depending on the tense. Ich and ach might be similar, but ich and ech might be different. So there's no guarantee that every single verb is going to be conjugated the same. So depending on the tense, you might have to learn 3, 2, or just simply 1. 3, 2, or just simply 1 conjugation. The most common verbs in Polish are mieć, to have, robić, to do, znać, to know, mówić, to talk or to say, iść, to go, brać, to take, and chcieć, to want. Firstly, let's get into the present tense. Now, you might think, oh my god, I just scared you with a table. There's so many things on this table. There's not really that much. And it's a lot less than what I could give you. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys an example verb for each conjugation pattern, grać, robić, and rozumieć. And I'm going to show you guys the endings for each of these verbs. And because every verb in Polish is the same, with this conjugation, if it is irregular and has the same conjugation pattern, you're learning one, but you're also learning every other verb that ends in ach, every other verb that ends in ich, and every other verb that ends in ech. Now let's just go down the list. Ja gra. I play. We replace the ch with an m, so we have ja gram. Ty grasz. Same thing. Ch gets replaced. We have an sc, so ty grasz. You play. On gra. Ona gra. Ono gra. He plays. She plays. It plays. Now we're just removing that ch, so we just have gra. My gramy. We're adding that my instead of a ch, so we have my gramy. Wy gracie. Same thing, we're just replacing that ending. Wy gracie. You all play. I one grają. They play. Right, we're adding that ją at the end. Now, reminder that you just learned the conjugation from almost every ach regular verb. Again, because all of these endings will apply to every other verb with that same conjugation pattern, especially in the present tense. Now let's go to the each verb, which is robić, or to do. Ja robię. Instead of ja robim, it's ja robię. Ty robisz. On, ona I ono robi. We're taking that ch away, as we did over here. My robimy. Wy robicie. Oni or one robią. No y this time, it's just an o. And once again, you just learned the conjugations for every other present tense verb that ends in each and is not irregular. So every other each verb will have an l at the end if it's in the ya form. It will have an my at the end if it's in the my form, in the present tense. Now finally, rozumieć, which is to understand, which is the example verb for ech. Ja rozumię, similar to over here. Ty rozumiesz. On rozumie. Ona rozumie. Ono rozumie. Again, we're taking that ch and throwing it away. My rozumiemy. Wy rozumiecie. Oni or one rozumieją. Similar to over here, we have that once again, and we have the "on" over here. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. But again, every etch verb in the present tense, if it is regular, will follow this same pattern of suffix changes. So you learn rozumieć, and you learn every other verb that has that etch ending. Now we're going to get to the past tense, and I'm going to do it the exact same way. But if you notice, there are parentheses on this slide. Grałem and am, grałeś and aś, grał and a, grał, zrobiłeś and aś. Well, what does that mean? Well, in the past tense, for ja, ty, i, all these three, for I, you, he, she, or it, they all are dependent on the gender. Now, what does that mean? For example, if I were to say ja grałem, that would be the masculine version of I play, or I played. I cannot say ja grałam because I am not a girl. If I was a girl, then you could say ja grałam, and it would still mean I played, but it's because it's gender specific. Same thing for ty or you. Ty grałeś. If the person who played is a boy, you would say ty grałeś. If they were a girl, it would be ty grałaś. And for these three, it's the same thing. On and ono, or he or it, both use grał, or just that w, grał, but ona uses grała. So he or it played, or she played, but the ending is different. These last three, me, ve, I, ona, or one, are not gender dependent, and you don't have to think about gender when you're conjugating them. So we just have me graliśmy, wy graliście, I, ona, or one grali. Again, we're taking that ch, where it would be, throwing it away and adding that new ending. For me, it's liśmy. For wy, it's liście. And for on or ona, it's li. And again, you just learned the conjugation for every adverb in the past tense. Now, you look at these two columns and you see a lot of Z's. Well, why are they there? You can safely ignore them. It's simply a rule that if an infinitive verb starts with the letter R and it's in the past tense, you have to add a Z before it, then to make it grammatically correct. But when we're conjugating the suffix, you don't have to think about it, and you can imagine it's not there. But obviously, when you're saying it or writing it, you do have to know it's there. But again, for those simple conjugations of the suffix, none of that changes. So again, I'm going to go down through the list. Ja zrobiłem, ja zrobiłam, if it's a girl. Ty zrobiłeś, ty zrobiłaś, if it's a girl. On zrobił, ona zrobiła, ono zrobił. My zrobiliśmy, wy zrobiliście, I oni I one zrobili. These three are going to be the same regardless of the ending. So my, wy, ona in the past tense, regardless of what verb it is, if it is regular, it will have the liśmy, liście, and li as the endings. But these three are different because again, we don't have that. And over here we have the rozumieć or the etch stand-in. And again, we have that Z, but again, you can just safely ignore it. But for etch verbs in Polish, you're not only taking away that ch, but you're replacing the with an a, the e with an a, for ja, ty, I, on, ona, I, ono. So instead of zrozumiałem or zrozumiałam, it would be zrozumiałem or zrozumiałam, because we're taking that e and we're replacing it with an a. The e stays the same for my, the, I, on, or one, but again, we have to have that a if we're using these three forms. So again, I'm just going to go down the list. Ja zrozumiałam, or ja zrozumiałem. Ty zrozumiałeś, or ty zrozumiałaś. On zrozumiał, ona zrozumiała, or on zrozumiał. My zrozumieliśmy, wy zrozumieliście, I ona, and oni, one zrozumieli. Again, these three are all the same. Every single one in this box is exactly the same. And again, we're replacing the E with the A for rozumieć, ja, ty, and these three. Now it's time to get into the future tense. Now, you might think this is the hardest one, but it's literally the easiest one because I'm going to teach you guys the simple way and the grammatically correct simple way to do all of this. Because for every single verb in the Polish language, If you do it this way, you literally only have to learn 6 conjugations. And you know every single verb, how it will be conjugated in the future tense, as you can see by the table. You literally have to only learn the conjugation of the verb bitch. B-Y-C with the accent mark. Bitch. If you do it like that, you conjugate it in the future, then the second verb right after that you actually want to do is just going to stay in its infinitive the entire time. For example, ja będę grać. I will play, or I will be playing, right? Depending on the context. But again, it says I will play. Będę is the ja future tense of the verb bitch, but again, grać just stays the same as it is. And the reason that works is because in Polish, if you have two verbs side by side in a sentence, you only ever have to conjugate the first one. The second one will always stay in its infinitive. And since bitch is a verb, right, and we're conjugating it in the future tense, grać, robić, rozumieć, and every other verb can just stay in its infinitive, making it a lot easier. So I'm just going to go down the list. Ja będę grać, ty będziesz grać, ona i ono będzie grać, my będziemy grać, wy będziecie grać, or ona i oni or one będą grać. Again, you literally only have to learn I'm saying literally a lot, but you have to only learn these 6, and you know the conjugation for robić, for rozumieć, and for every other verb you will see in the Polish language. There's the more difficult way of learning the future tense, which is actually conjugating these 3 words, or these words grać, robić, and rozumieć. But for the beginners, I think it's fair that you literally only have to learn this way, in this much easier way, and it is grammatically correct. No one will fault you for using it. And we've talked about that verb quite a bit, but now let's look at how irregular it is in every tense, not just the future tense. Now again, the verb is bitch, and it is the most popular verb in Polish. Not most popular, but it's the most used verb in Polish by a landslide. It doesn't come close, so you have to know how to use it, but it is irregular. So the only way I could really tell you or teach it to you is by reciting it to you and showing it to you, because there's no pattern. For irregular verbs, they are one and done. There is no pattern, or there's nothing to compare it to, because 90% of the time it is just what it is, basically. So again, I'm just going to go down the list for these 2. We don't need the future tense because we've already learned it. So we're just going to go down this list. Ja jestem, I am. Ty jesteś, you are. On, ona i ono, jest. He is, she is, it is. My jesteśmy, we are. Wy jesteście, you all are. You all are. Oni or one są. They are. Ja byłem, I was. Ty byłeś, you were. On był, ona był, ono był. He was, she was, it was. My byliśmy, we were. Wy byliście, you all were. Oni or one byli, they were. Again, you can't really teach irregular verbs. You guys kind of just have to push through it and memorize all of these. But again, you will have to at some point anyway, because this verb is incredibly important to the language. Alongside the verb iść. It is the most important irregular verb, second most important irregular verb in Polish, second to, again, bitch. And again, it has its own conjugation in all 3 tenses, so you can't really teach it, so you just have to keep it as it is. And the problem is you can't use that future form that I talked before with this verb. It doesn't work. You can't say będę iść or będziesz iść. I mean, you can, but people are going to think you're a little bit weird if you do it like that. For every other verb, it's fine, but for each, you do have to learn its own future tense. You have to learn its own future tense conjugation. So again, similar to bitch, I'm just going to go down the list. Ja idę, I go. Ty idziesz, you go. On, ona, ono idzie. He, she, or it goes. Sorry. My idziemy, we go. Wy idziecie, you all go. Oni, one idą. They go. Ja poszłem, you went, or I went. Ty poszłeś, you went. On, ona, ono poszedł. He, she, or it went. My poszliśmy, We went. Wy poszliście. You all went. Oni, one poszli. They went. Ja pójdę. I will go. Ty pójdziesz. You will go. On, ona, ono pójdzie. He, she, or it will go. My pójdziemy. We will go. Wy pójdziecie. You all will go. Oni, one pójdą. They will go. Again, you can't really teach irregular verbs, so that is the best way. And that is the only way that I know of to teach you guys, which is to show you the table and show you how you would use these verbs. And with that, let's get into that little bit of a quiz section that we have after verbs. Now that you guys have gone through the verb section, now that you have learned the present, past, and future tenses, now that you have learned bitch and iść, which are the two most popular irregular verbs in my language, we are now going to get into a little quiz section to try to help reinforce that learning. Now, how it's going to work is I'm going to give you guys 4 phrases on the screen with the infinitive verb in parentheses, and I want you guys to try to translate that phrase or sentence into Polish. Now, up on the screen now are the 4 phrases that I want you to translate, so take your time, take a few minutes, try to figure out how you would say those things, but keep in mind, you should probably pause the video because I'm going to go through it in a few seconds. Now that the few seconds have passed, let's get into the translation bit. Now, the first phrase was you are drinking. Taking that and using the verb pić, we would get ty pijesz. Ty pijesz. The next one is you all took. You all took with the verb brać. Taking that, we would have wy braliście. Wy braliście. Next, we have the simple phrase I know with the verb znać. Then we would have ja znam. Ja znam. And then finally, we have they want with the verb chceć. Taking that, we would get oni chcą. Oni chcą. And with that, the verbs quiz section is done. Hopefully you guys got most of those right, at least 2 out of 4. And now it's time to get into the actual adverbs, which should be very quick. Now that the quiz section is over, it's time to get very quickly into adverbs. And this is the shortest part of the video by far for one main reason. Adverbs do not change in any way or form, regardless of the tense, regardless of the conjugation, regardless of the verb conjugation ending for that verb. They will always be the same, regardless. Every verb that you see on this list will always be the same. You do not have to change it in any way. Szybko will always be quickly, wolno will always be slowly, głośno loudly, ładnie nicely, grzecznie politely, pewnie confidently. They all stay the same, regardless of tense, regardless of conjugation, regardless of pattern. So once you learn an adverb, you know it. That's it. You can use it for every single verb in every single way. There's no change at all. So all you really have to do for adverbs is just memorize the word. A little bit tedious, but it is much easier than memorizing a whole tense, again, as we did for adjectives. So I think for you guys, that's a blessing at this point. But now that we've established that, we're going to go into the quiz section for adverbs. Now that you saw that laundry list of adverbs that I do apologize for, but you kind of had to know them, we're going to get into the second quiz section, which is the adverbs quiz section. Now, all I'm going to do is have 4 new phrases, or 4 new sentences, but we don't have an adverb in there. So it's going to be subject, adverb, and verb. And so you would have at maximum 3 words per phrase, just to keep that in mind, so you know what's right and what isn't, or at least have a baseline of what you're going to be translating. Now, up on the screen, once again, we have the 4 phrases that I want you guys to translate with the verbs that you do not know in brackets or in parentheses. Now, take your time, take a few minutes, but again, I will be going through it in a few seconds, so probably you should pause the video. All right, with that few seconds, let's get into the correcting of these phrases. Now, the first phrase was you drink quickly, with again the verb being pić. with the adverb being szybko, we get ty szybko piłeś. Ty szybko piłeś. The next phrase was you all carried for a long time, or you all carried longly, with the verb trzymać. Trzymać. With the for a long time bit being just one word, or długo, we get wy długo trzymaliście. Wy długo trzymaliście. The third phrase was I confidently know, or I probably know, with the verb again being znać. Taking that and using the adverb pewnie, we get ja pewnie znam. Ja pewnie znam. And then finally, the hardest phrase out of all the quiz sections that we're going to see today is they are going to sing loudly, or they're gonna sing loudly, with the verb śpiewać. Taking the future tense, taking the adverb głośno, and taking the verb śpiewać, we get oni będą głośno śpiewać. Oni będą głośno śpiewać. And that's okay if you didn't get that one, because that is the hardest one, but we have to know that if we're going to use the future tense. And with that, the video concludes itself, and that is basically the end of the verbs and adverbs video. I hope you guys really did enjoy this video, and I did have a fun time making this one, because a lot more, you saw a lot more of me and then in face to face than the other two videos the other three videos rather, that I have recorded before. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something, and the final video is probably already out, lesson 5, sentence structure, and I hope to see you guys there to conclude this series.